Hi, hello, what's up guys? Today we're filming on this bad boy, the Sony a7r II. Now, just before I jump into anything, I want to quickly say that this is not intended to ever hate on the Sony a7r III in any way, shape or form. I absolutely love that camera body to absolute pieces. If I had all the resources in the world, I would love to have one, as I'll go into further detail later in this video. Under certain decisions and circumstances, I felt that the Sony a7r II was the right decision for myself. And I want to be able to share my experience with everyone else that may be going through the same decision. So if you're already a professional in the industry and doing things like wildlife photography or landscape photography, this video may not be for you. Okay, so now that we've got that out of the way, now for a little bit of context, I actually used to be a Canon user. I owned a 7D for many years. I also rented out several of the 5D range from the Mark II, Mark III, Mark IV. I loved Canon, I swore by it. The color profiles were phenomenal. I absolutely loved it. Recently, I decided that I was actually going to purchase one of the bodies because I was sick and tired of renting all the time for all of these events and things that I was shooting for. But over the past couple of years, it's become very apparent to myself that I could no longer ignore the incredible features that Sony was putting out in their camera bodies for those price points. It's just no wonder everyone is making the switch. Sony was no longer the elephant in the room. They were the room. So then I thought to myself, well, the Sony a7r III is coming out pretty soon. Maybe I'll just wait for that because it looks unbelievable. And it is. So then I waited and it came out, and is it everything that everyone had hoped it would be? It is. But then here we are. It's December and we're filming on my now Sony a7r II. But ultimately, if you're like me and you're trying to make the decision between the Sony a7r II and the Sony a7r III, then hopefully the information that I can give you in this video is a little bit helpful. And if it is, please go down below and smash that like button and don't forget to subscribe. And let's get into it. Reason number one, it's a luxury. If you're like me and deciding between the Sony a7r II and the Sony a7r III is such a massive decision, you probably need to stop and ask yourself, is my shoot actually going to be ruined if I'm holding an a7r II versus an a7r III? Probably not. Most of us can actually do without all of these extra features at their new extremes. They're not necessary. They're lovely to have, but you simply don't need them unless you're shooting in extreme circumstances or in a very niche style. Because if you're shooting that much and you need that much extra storage and that much extra battery life, you probably will end up carrying around little energy nuggets in your pocket anyway. Reason number two, and this is going to be a very big factor for a lot of us. It's expensive. We all know this. The Sony a7r III is gorgeous, but it's gonna cost you a lot of moolah. The Sony a7r III, including tax, will set you back at around $3,600 US. And if you buy a mint condition secondhand Sony a7r II, you can usually get it for around $1,900 with a few accessories like extra batteries thrown in. So instantly with that difference, you've got $1,700 there to play with. In which case, like myself, I ended up spending that on extra lenses and extra accessories anyway. So this is a way for you to acquire more of these little tools and things that you can experiment and play with. And then maybe down the road, that's when you'll start experimenting with newer and better bodies. Which brings me to my third reason. Both of these cameras are going to get superseded. Whatever is the fastest and the best now will no longer be the fastest and the best later. So you need to pick your battles quite wisely. I found that for myself, I thought it was a better investment to spend that extra money on tools and accessories that I can then apply to different camera bodies down the road, and I can take that with me. Right now, because I was switching from Canon to Sony, I found it quite important that I invested in native lenses to make sure that I was getting the best out of that camera that I was putting all that money into. Now, this all brings me to my fourth point. You're still getting the same sensor. The Sony a7r II and Sony a7r III actually have the same CMOS sensor in them. Now, I will admit, even though the Sony a7R II and the Sony a7R III do have the same sensor, a lot of you are probably going to comment down below, well, the Sony a7R III has better dynamic range, and it does. I'm not arguing with you. I really believe that the benefits you're going to see from that little upgrade that's going to cost you a lot more money is going to be so minimal that it may just be worth stepping back and investing in something that you can just experiment with. My last and fifth point is by far the most important here: craft. Simply put, if you find yourself absolutely definitely needing all of these little extras, ultimately, if that's going to make or break your shoot, you need to go back and you need to learn your craft. You need to learn how to compose a story, compose a shot, editing, color grading, or just photo editing. Now, there are people like Casey Neistat or Jack White that would never let the gear that they're using get in the way of their creative process or their ultimate product at the end. There was Jack White, who for over 10 years in the White Stripes used a plastic guitar. But he came through with his plastic guitar and he absolutely killed it because he learned his craft. He built his own style, his own sound, and that's what identified him in the industry as a leader. Then there's people like Casey Neistat, who swears by his Canon 70 and 80Ds. And they're fantastic cameras, don't get me wrong. You just don't normally see professionals out in the field using them. They're great to just get around and get shots, and that's his thing. He will compromise whether it's just a few extra megapixels or a little bit on color. That's fine. What he cares about is telling a really good story. So in conclusion, if you are a professional and you do have that extra disposable income, go ahead and get that Sony a7R III because it is gorgeous and it is waiting for you. But for the rest of us who may have been sweating over which model we're going to use, and I think that ultimately you don't need the Sony a7R III. All of us would love to have it, but it's not always accessible. And I found that through my own experience, like right now, buying this Sony a7R II and those extra accessories has made me so happy, and I will never regret that decision to be able to give myself the wiggle room to experiment and have a little bit more fun with my own camera. So hopefully I've been able to help you with your decision and give you a little bit of insight to how I thought about the situation. And if you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button, smash the subscribe button, and I will see you soon. Bye.